Here's a really fun trigonometry question, which if you're doing trigonometry as a student, perhaps taking the IB exam soon, and if you're comfortable with trigonometry, then give this one a try. So this is asking which one of the two terms is bigger, and we're dealing with two terms which are fractions both. So the first one is sine of 1 degree over sine of 2 degrees. Note those are not radians, but actually degrees. And the second one is sine of 3 degrees over sine of 4 degrees. So it's not actually obvious which one is bigger, and we have to figure this out. And if you'd like to see anything similar to this in the future, or if you have any suggestions for specific problems that you'd like to see on the channel, let me know in the comments. So without losing any sort of generality, I'm going to say that, I'm going to check whether sine of 1 degree over sine of 2 degrees is greater than sine of 3 degrees over sine of 4 degrees. So this is not actually like a true inequality because we don't know if it's true yet, but we're going to check whether it's true or not. And what I will do from here is I'll use the fact that for x between, let's say, 0 and pi over 2, then sine of x is positive, okay, or at least greater than 0. And the reason I'm using that is because what I want to do now is I want to cross multiply to get rid of the fractions, basically. So if I cross multiply, what I'll end up with is the following. So there would be sine of, so I'm multiplying sine of 4 degrees with sine of 1 degree. So there would be sine of 4 sine of 1. And then the question is this actually greater than sine of 3 sine of 2? Okay, so it doesn't actually look like we made much progress, but actually we can do something now. So on each side of the inequality, we've got a product of signs. Okay, so what we can do with this is we can convert a product into a sum. Okay, and here's what I mean by that. We know that cosine of a plus b is equal to cosine of a cosine of b minus sine a sine b. And we're going to use the same thing for cosine of a minus b. So that's cos a cos b, and then plus sine a sine b. Okay, and what I'll try to do now is I will try to convert those, so the product of the sines, into a sum or difference of cosines, okay, using those two formulas that we have here. And to do that, I will subtract one from the other, okay? So I will do cosine of a minus b minus cosine of a plus b. That's going to be equal to 2 sine a sine b. Okay. Or we can write that sine a sine b. So I'll start with the right hand side. So sine a sine b is equal to 1/2. And then we have cosine of a minus b minus cosine of a plus b. And that's it. So we're going to use this. So we're going to use the fact that sine a sine b is equal to this thing to change this inequality into, well, to change it from a product into a sum or a difference, rather. Okay. So it doesn't actually look like things are going to become easier, but you'll see that something interesting will happen when we actually do this substitution. So instead of sine 4 sine 1, I'm going to write that as 1/2, and then square brackets. And then we have cosine of a minus b, so that would be cosine of 4 minus 1. Okay, so cosine of 4 minus 1, which is cosine of 3. And then we have minus cosine of a plus b. Okay, so that's minus cosine of 4 plus 1, which of course is minus cosine of 5 degrees. And then we're trying to figure out if this is greater than 1/2, and then we'll do the same thing. So on the right-hand side of the inequality, we have 1/2, and then we have cosine of 1 minus cosine of 3 plus 2, which is 5. So cosine of 5, like this, okay? So we can already see that something's happening here, but let me just expand the brackets just in case. So this is going to be cos 3 over 2 minus cosine of 5 over 2. And is this actually greater than this? And as you can see, those actually cancel out. And the only thing that remains is this. Is cosine of 3 actually greater than cosine of 1? Okay, and we're talking degrees here. And the answer to that is no. Okay, so this is false. And why is this false? Well, because cosine of x for x between 0 and pi over 2, or if we're using degrees, let's actually use 90 degrees, okay, is decreasing. Okay, so this is a decreasing function, and you should know this because if you think of how the cosine graph looks like, so until 90 degrees, which is here, the cosine starts at 1, and then it does, let me try that again, it does something like this. Okay, so it's a decreasing function, and a decreasing function has the property that if x2 is greater than x1, then cosine of x2 is less than cosine of x1. Okay, and this is what is true in our case. So clearly 3 degrees is greater than 1 degree, which means that cosine of 3 degrees is actually less than cosine of 1 degree. Okay, so this is the greater one, which means that this inequality is false, which means that our initial assumption that this term is greater is also false. Okay, so the correct direction of the inequality is this. Okay, so sine of 3 degrees over sine of 4 degrees is greater than what we have on the left-hand side. And you can actually check this out with the calculator. I think this one is going to be somewhere around 0.5, whereas this one is going to be somewhere around 0.75. Okay, but if you want to prove this mathematically using trigonometry, this is how I would do it. And that's the end of the question.